today's our guest is Professor Meththika Vithanage, right? Who is Director of Ecosphere Resilience Research Center, and she is holding a post office of the Dean at Faculty of Applied Science in University of Sri Jayawardhanepura, Sri Lanka. I mean, although our format is such that our guest unfolds their own stories, but I can just briefly say that she is ranked in top 2% of the most cited scientists across various disciplines globally. And she was in this list in 2017 and 19, and I bet that in 2021, she will be perhaps in top 1%. So thank you, Professor Meththika. Of course, you have been a good, the great collaborator and a friend. So thank you very much for accepting our invitation.
Thank you very much, Manish. This is, I think, a new novel thing, podcasting that you are going to do. So it's a new experience for me as well. So thank you very much for inviting.
Yeah, actually, I feel like every interview, I am now 7 or 8 interview old, and every time I interviewed, I feel like I read a book, that kind of, or see a movie of a. So it has been an amazing journey. Thank you very much for taking time out from your busy schedule. I know that because you are representing the first female in this season 1. So thank you very much for appearing for this conversation on Sunday evening. So thank you very much. So this conversation has 3 parts. The part A is the journey and motivation. The part B is your the suggestions or the lessons that you would like to share with young people or even across the all age in academic career or research. And the third part is knowing you a bit more closely as a being human. So let's start with part A. Part A, the first question is that please briefly explain your journey. You can start with from your childhood. You can say that whether as a child also you were a curious scientist or you took that route later on.
Okay, thank you. I actually, if I would say in very briefly how my journey was, my journey as a scholar is filled up with ups and downs, as every other person's, journey. But with a lot of commitment, a lot of determination and self-motivation, this has paved the pathway to, become a successful story. So that is my journey. When I was a kid, I was born in 1976. My father and my mother, they had only me, so I'm the only child. My father was a graduate and he was working in the public sector, where my mother was a housewife. So I was schooling very close by to my house, and then I was able to pass the scholarship exam at grade 5. That is, the one major, let's say, like a milestone of a school kid in Sri Lanka. So when somebody passes out the scholarship exams, he or she can apply for a better school in the cities. So I was passing this scholarship exam, and then I got the best school in Sri Lanka for school education, Devi Balika Vidyalaya, where I was, there for until my advanced levels. then onwards we can discuss later on how my life went through.
Yeah. So of course, one question remain unanswered, that until graduation, it means that you have been a bright scholar and you got a scholarship and those things, and that paves the way. But when do you think that it took the course of PhD? Like, when did you know that you are going to do it?
I had few milestones in my life where I had after the advanced level exams in Sri Lanka is very tough, very competitive. So the very first milestone I had was the advanced level exam, where I tried to go through the biological science stream, but I was not successful in the very first attempt. Then I tried for the second attempt. I had the eager to pass the exam to enter into a national university. Only 2% of the students who does advanced level in Sri Lanka, at that time, was able to enter into the national university system. So second time I was successful. I had the opportunity to enter into a national university because, especially because my parents didn't have, their economy was not that good to send me to a private university. There were very few private universities at that time in Sri Lanka. So I had to fight hard to get into a national university. So that was the very first milestone I had. And then the second milestone was when I passed my A levels, my advanced levels, based on the marks, the government decided where you are going, which university you are taking. Then I was looking at the universities, but I felt like, okay, I should do something new, not the very conventional subjects. So I tried to, I applied to a lower ranking university. That was a brave decision, I thought. Still, I'm thinking like that. So I went into a rural university, which it was like the second year of that university. So I was in the second batch. So that was about 8 hours away from my house.
Mm-hmm.
And then I actually selected that university, Sabbatical University of Sri Lanka, just because of the natural resources subject stream that that university had. So that was the second milestone. And then the third milestone was like I did my bachelor's well, then I did my master's pretty good from University of Pvt. Then your question, how I got this PhD.
Mm-hmm.
So that was another milestone. This PhD was open advertisement. So there were like 40 plus applicants from 17 countries. And this PhD scholarship was on tsunami, how tsunami water has been contaminating the groundwater, and what is the length that groundwater is being replenished.
This is for a scholarship of not Sri Lankan government, right?
No, this was an scholarship from University of Copenhagen, Denmark, with the collaboration of Institute of International Water Management Institute, IMI, in Sri Lanka, where the headquarters in Sri Lanka. So, that was the very first time I faced an interview. So I was just, getting an experience of an interview. So that is why I actually applied for that particular PhD scholarship to try and see. So based on my caliber in the masters, um, my supervisors have considered me as the potential candidate for the PhD. So I was then going through my PhD studies from 2009 to 2005 to 2009. Um, that is how the PhD work went. Um,
Yeah. So I
that
mean,
yeah.
so how many seats and where the interview was?
Actually, for the interview, there were several PhD candidates, PhD applicants from Sri Lanka. It was 17 PhD applicants, I think, from Sri Lanka. So the supervisors came all over to Sri Lanka for the International Water Management Institute to
Mhm.
interview us. So it was a live interview with the supervisors and plus the management staff of the IMI, International Water Management
Oh,
Institute.
so they came to fly to Colombo, and
Yes.
and how many candidates they selected?
Uh, I think there were about 17 or 15 candidates from Sri Lanka.
Mhm.
Other
Yeah,
than
but
that, there were many other from different other countries.
mm. So I mean, and so how was it? I mean, before appearing to the interview, you were decided, ki, okay, if I will get a seat, I will go and do PhD, because doing PhD is a big decision. You were engineer, right? Bachelor in engineering or bachelor in technology,
No, I was an environmental science master's holder at that time.
and graduation in
Natural resources.
that was the BSc or BE or
Yes,
BTech?
BSc. BSc.
BSc. So
Master's was from environmental science.
So does it crosses your mind, or even your parents ask you that it's now time to get a job rather than doing a PhD?
Exactly. During my master's, actually, my father got very sick. He had a brain tumor, recurrency. Actually, he was having the brain tumor in when I was doing my schooling. Then he got it operated in the Apollo hospitals in Madras in Chennai, and then this was a recurrence, and at that time it was very fast growing. So he was actually he died, he passed away in 2003 when I was doing my masters. So I had only my mom left. So my mom wanted me to get a job, especially in the public sector, because of the pension. We will have the some kind of salary after, even after we retire. Because of that security, she wanted me to get a job. But my father's dream was, for me, carrying out my studies. So she was okay actually. That is why I finished my masters very well, with two papers, two science citation index articles at that moment. That was a very big achievement, and that paved the pathway to get the PhD, candidature as well.
Wow. See, I told you initially that interviewing these days is not less than a movie for me. And I didn't know that always a smiling lady has this kind of. It must be tough, and still you did PhD. That is very commendable, and I really appreciate that. So it is that, yes, your mom wanted to have a job with pension. But what made you, or because in that scenario, you have to leave her in Sri Lanka and go for another country. So how did you manage? And how many siblings you have? You have?
Yeah, I'm only child, so it was very hard. Leaving my mom at that moment was a big, bit harder decision. But I was very fortunate because the PhD that I did, the field work I had to do in Sri Lanka. So I could spend
Ah,
about
yes.
months in Sri Lanka to setting up the field, wells and all. It was in the eastern coast of Sri Lanka, but that was again a harsh condition that I faced. At that time, we had a 30-year-long civil war where I had to cross these civil war areas to go to the field sites because my supervisors wanted me to have a field site where it was in the middle of the sea and lagoon so that I can catch the groundwater plume in that particular area. So I had to go all the way from Colombo, crossing the country to the east, where the civil war was also going on. But during that setting up field with 20 wells, I was spending 6 months in my motherland. So my mom had chance to be with me even though it was my PhD. So then I left the country to do my modeling work and learn the modeling and theory behind and all these things to Denmark. But every year I was able to come to motherland because I needed to collect the data. So it was a good chance for me to be with my mom. And then I spent about another 5 months at Colorado School of Mines as an intern, where I did the lab scale setup to test the field modeling, field data, to validate the data or actually to calibrate the model. So we had a long tank setup in Professor Tissai Langasekara's lab at Colorado School of Mines. So in that tank setup, I used that data to calibrate the model. Then came back again to Copenhagen, Denmark, to finish my PhD, and then back
Yeah.
home.
So I would say that your motherland really kept your mother, and you used to meet. And in some way or other, it was tsunami. If tsunami would have not there, maybe probably that project would have been not there.
Yeah.
But I want to. In you work so much in remediation field that initially I was not knowing that your PhD was on groundwater. Actually, my career also began with the groundwater. I did my Master of Philosophy MPhil on the groundwater issues, and my first journal paper is on the groundwater chemistry. So here my question is that, of course, you didn't choose. Destiny took you to that interview. You got selected, and that topic was also, given. But did you ever thought that you didn't get a chance to choose the topic, or you didn't get a chance to choose the supervisor? Because these are the very critical thing for PhD.
Yeah, that is true. Um, but my intention was whatever I get, like in the field of environmental science, um, I would try my best because I had thoughts like very strong feelings. Whatever I do, if I do it with lot of devotion, with lot of determination, that will definitely take you to the success. and I can succeed. So that is why, no matter what I am getting, if because I am applying to something that thinking that this will suit me. So only those opportunities I had applied. So I applied at that moment. I applied to this opportunity, and I tried to apply for a DAD scholarship, DAAD scholarship in Germany. But before I got the information from, before I placed the application from DAD, I got this news from the PhD scholarship that I was selected. At that moment it was I could not even believe, during that time the emails were not very prominent. There was it was in 2005. So when I come into the to the laboratory early in the morning, and then I tried to log into the computer and check the email. So then I saw this email that I have been selected. I could not believe. When I told my supervisor, he told me, we can't believe in these kind of emails that much. So better you ask for in writing, so that is how it went. Yeah, it was in groundwater modeling. Um, then afterwards, how things are in these kind of developing nations. It is very hard to focus on groundwater modeling kind of field, because we need a lot of data. We need a lot of money to drill, wells, sampling wells, monitoring wells, and so on. So it was not possible for me to take that particular study area towards after my PhD. So I moved into the remediation science.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, this groundwater is field monitoring. Even if you did PhD, was really commendable, because you told that you had to spend a lot of time in the field to understand the integration of the seawater or impact of. Um, what model did you use? Just for
It's
groundwater
a
modeling?
heat and transport model. It is called HST 3D.
I know, I know.
Yeah,
Mm.
yeah.
MT3D is also there.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Okay. So if I would say that, is there any incident, or why do you become scientist? I mean, if you wanted to have a government job with pension, doing PhD is dangerous for that dream. So why did you become, or thought that, okay, scientist? Is there any incident that inspired you, or is there any person who inspired you, that you thought that, okay, PhD is going to be life, my academics is going to be the field from where I will earn my bread and butter?
Yeah, actually, it was not a planned journey. I had no intention to become a scientist, but eventually, I ended up being a scientist though. It was like I saw my father getting his master's. Even he was at that time he was about 50 years old, kind of, or 45 to 50 years old. So at during that time I was thinking, okay, how old he, but still he is doing his
Higher studies.
education. Yeah.
Mm.
So these kind of things motivated me. Since I went into the rural university, I tried to get my best out of it. So I was the batch top at that time, for my bachelor's, and then masters also I did quite well. And so, I thought, okay, after when I was doing my master's research, I saw, in the National Institute of Fundamental Studies, there were a lot of scholars, very eminent scholars, and there were research assistants who were trying to pursue for their PhDs. So I thought, okay, I should not stop by masters. So I should try to go ahead for a PhD. So that is how I I tried to find the scholarship and went along. Um, then what motivated me was like during my bachelor's, especially the earth sciences subjects drew me to think critically, and curiosity was building up, how these plate tectonics are happening, how these mineral formations are, going on. So these kind of things more, motivated me to have some curiosity based thinking. In our school education in Sri Lanka, the curiosity is not being given, so it's like mostly learning by the book. But these earth science subjects, mainly the earth science subjects, gave me the motivation to see, look what is in there, why it is happening. So I tend to read quite a lot, and start learning by myself during my bachelor's. Especially in that particular university, Sabaragama University of Sri Lanka, we were given a lot of field visits. So these field visits were done by eminent, professionals in the country. So these eminent scientists, we had the opportunity to talk with them. We had the opportunity to listen to them. So these things motivated me to have more and more education towards PhD.
Yeah,
So that,
I mean, a lot of things are matching here because 2005 I got the selection letter to do PhD in Tokyo. So that was the same year, and I told you about the groundwater. And plate tectonics was the one assignment I did in the masters, which
okay.
so which made me feel like wow. Um, Now, coming to the transition period, PhD has too much transition. Like one, when you did your completed your master and still waiting for a PhD position, and another when you finish the PhD and you're looking for a job or postdoc. How did you manage both transition?
Yeah. When I finished my PhD, I wanted to go for a postdoc, and actually I was about to be selected for a postdoc opportunity in Australia. That is also based on groundwater modeling. But when I discussed with my mom, and at that time I was married. Uh, my husband was okay, but my mom said, I asked my mom whether can you join with me to go to Australia for my postdoc, and then we can come back for good to Sri Lanka. But she said, no, I will stay here. You can go and do your postdoc and come back. Then I felt like no, because I had already left her alone for 2 years. So then I made the brave decision to come back to Sri Lanka, and there was no job. So I was without a job for 6 months, and there was an opportunity suddenly appeared in the newspaper uh, for a position at the same place where I did my master's research, National Institute of Fundamental Studies. There at that moment it was Institute of Fundamental Studies. So I thought, okay, I should apply, and so fortunately I got the position. But during that lapse period, that I didn't have a job. I did one consultancy with the International Water Management Institute. Actually, they wanted me to join the institute as well, but I wanted to do a lot of research. So I thought, okay, no, I will do this consultancy and stay back until I get an opportunity in a research institute. So I was spending the time writing the papers from the PhD work. until I got this opportunity as a research fellow in the very one and only Institute for Fundamental Studies in Sri Lanka, National Institute of Fundamental Studies. You
So
are muted.
when you got married then? I mean, it means during your PhD?
Yeah, during my PhD, I got married, but my husband was back in Sri Lanka. He was, he had a job, so he was doing his job, and I was at, last part of my PhD doing at University of Copenhagen, Denmark.
So where did you meet him? I mean, was it an arranged marriage or you met him first?
No, no, it was not an arranged marriage. It was a love affair.
Mm.
I know, I knew him from my childhood time. We went to the same
Okay.
school actually. So until the grade 5 scholarship, I was, with him in the same class. But we actually started our affair during my master's.
No, no,
So
no.
well known
That
to
is
him.
that is not my the interest. But the point is that it means when you went to PhD, then you married. So that perhaps that was also your thought that when you are not here, at least somebody will be there to take care of mom.
Yeah,
Is it?
that was one another thought I had. We actually talked about that. So,
Hmm.
on behalf of me, he took care of my
Yes, yes, yes.
mother. Until then, my cousin brother, Danushka, he took care of my mother.
Mhm.
So until my husband Lakmal came into the scene.
I think today Dhanushka got his due back when you acknowledge his name, and yeah, I mean that kind of support makes us proud because yeah, even as a male,
Yes,
that
exactly.
sometimes it is not that only a success man has to be successful and female has to be behind. It can be a female who is leading the path and man can be behind that
Of course,
success.
very true. Yeah, because Lakmal was helping me during my PhD field work as well. So it was very, understanding and then understandable, and so we were friends from the childhood time.
Yes,
So
yes.
we knew each other. So it was, he took the chance to take care of my mother on behalf of me. That was
I
a
like
great.
this sort of culture, or I don't know whether I should say it culture, but I know very few Sri Lankan friends, but all of them has this kind of thing. They marry to their friends. I mean, it's great. I mean, that should be the way, perhaps. Anyway, I mean, yeah. Now let's go to the little bit about research topic and research career. What was or what has been the most productive period in your research career so far?
Hard question though. Um, yeah, I would say the few years from today, about 3 years back, was the most productive years in my research career because
Since
after I
2018, do you mean?
yeah 2018 to 2021, let's say.
Mm-hmm.
Because I left the job at National Institute of Fundamental Studies after being a senior research fellow at that institute. Because that institute was 3 hours, 4 hours far away from my place. Um,
Oh.
and after my mom's passing away, I had
Mm.
a lot of difficulties to manage my son, and I had to manage my family and everything. So that I took the chance. Okay, I should move out from this institute to something closer to my house. So I got. I It was a very hard decision, but there were a lot of difficulties in the particular institute as well. We were having issues and things like that. So I was a little bit upset, but I was doing very good in my research. That was the main institute that my career was built up. Then I took the chance to apply into this University of Sri Jayawardhanapura. So I got the opportunity in mid 2017, and I came here. But it was not that great moment that we were spending. There were a few of us took the chance of recruitment into the University of Sri Jayawardhanapura. But being a researcher, I wanted to be in a lab and start working on research and so on. But unfortunately, we didn't have any lab, we didn't have any office. So I thought, okay, I should spend this time for a betterment of the career and betterment of the university as well. So I was writing many research grant applications in 2007 and early 2018, and finally all these grant application was successful in 2018. And also the university allowed me to build a research center. So that is the research center, Ecosphere Resilience Research Center. Now I am heading. So this particular research center, we didn't have a place, we didn't have infrastructure, so we were having 2 rooms in the vice chancellor's lodge, and initiated. Then later on, the vice chancellor at that time, Professor Sudhanta Liyanage, vice chancellor at that time was Professor Sampath Amaratunga, and dean at that time was Professor Sudhanta Liyanage. So those 2 persons, especially the vice chancellor, allowed me to get this container laboratory complex. So he actually was very enthusiastic, and he right away approved my request to build this kind of a laboratory system. So from his support and with the grants that I got from various institutes in Sri Lanka as well as abroad, like Organization for Women Scientists in Developing Countries, OWST, International Atomic Energy Agency, and National Research Council in Sri Lanka, National Science Foundation in Sri Lanka. All these institutes were, funding me. So these 3 years, I think, was the most successful years for me, and I was able to receive like 100 million rupees worth of grants. I think it's about I don't know, 300,000 US dollars probably. So that's a great achievement in my career.
0.3 million. Yeah, I mean, I have, please send me your lab pictures to be run on this conversation, during this conversation. That will be nice to see. And yeah, although you are saying that, I understand that you become professor and directors after 2018, and actually you had until 2017 or 18, even 18 until late, the tag was senior lecturer or senior research fellow. But suddenly, okay, now professor and director. I mean, these 2 things I am still waiting to be under my name. But the point is, your patents were in 2015-16. Your papers were very nice in those time also. So, of course, this may be the best time, but I have seen that you have some Korean patent. And also so how was those experience? Because not many of us is, I mean, able to get those patent. So what is your take on that?
Yeah, the credit of my career building is definitely going to the National Institute of Fundamental Studies, where I started my research career. Um, being in a developing country, we don't get a lot of high quality advanced instrumentation for research. So it's a bit hard for us to have a good quality paper without these kind of instruments. Even like HPLC, GCMS, these kind of instruments were not very visible at that moment when I was starting my PhD, starting my research career at IFS. So the very first two students I was supervising, and I was struggling to get some analytical support for some, measurements like bed surface area, scanning electron microscopy. So these were not in Sri Lanka at the moment. During 2010-11, so I tried to find out, who will give support, who will extend a hand to me to as a support for me to get these analyses done. So I suddenly realized that when I was finishing my PhD, there was an um, invitation for me to do a postdoc at Kangwon National University with Professor Yong Sik Ko. Then I realized, okay, this person, was writing to me, asking me being his postdoc. But I said no, because I wanted to go to my motherland. Then I wrote to him an email saying I am having these difficulties to get these instrumental analysis to be done. Can you support me? Then right away, he has called my mobile number. I didn't answer because it was in my office. I was spending my time with the students at the lab. Then he has called right away to the director of the IFS. Then I got a call from, a person came to me and asked me, director is asking you to come right away. So then I ran to the director. Then he told me, okay, a professor from Korea called me and asked about you. So you just contact him. That is how we started this collaboration. It was a very strong collaboration. It is even up to now. Then I sent an email. I checked my emails. I realized that he has sent an email to me, reply. So then we started the collaboration. Then he asked me to come and spend three months at his lab. So I was doing that every year for like 3-4 years. I spent 3 months there with one of my students. So we were able to do some research projects with him. So those kind of research projects led the pathway to have some Korean patents. I actually started to know about this biochar research from him. And then we were doing quite a lot of biochar research where I got these 2 patents with him to antibiotic remediation using biochars. Yeah.
I mean, since then it is a history, because I know that he has been a strong force behind you, and he trusts you like himself. Yeah, so this also says that where there is a will, there is a way. I mean, you tried to find, you didn't sulk that, okay, this instrument, which is very much essential to have any remediation study, even published in Impact Factor 1. So in that sense, you didn't stop yourself, but you try to troubleshoot. So this is one of the things that the audience can, or the young guys, or even anyone can learn from. Actually, here also I have a coincidence that my first postdoc was in Korea. And when I was doing PhD, I was getting his email. Professor Kangju Kim, he used to write me for the collaboration, because my groundwater papers had, by that time I published, they were good papers, and I was the corresponding author. So he thought that I am a professor or somewhere. So he used to keep writing me email that let's collaborate. But when my PhD was 6 months to go, then I wrote one. Then I just one day I sent him my CV. He just realized, oh my God. So what he said that yeah, you have a postdoc open whenever you want, and that's the way I finished my PhD today and take flight tomorrow and joined.
Okay.
So I have seen that Korean people go for the talent hunt. They try to notice that who is doing well and that those things are happening. So Korean collaborators having those people is really good thing for research career. Now, moving ahead, do you have teaching in your responsibility, among your responsibilities?
Yeah, not much, but I do teach one subject to the undergraduates, but for postgraduates, I do quite a lot of teaching.
So describe your teaching experience. How do you feel about teaching? What is your teaching philosophy?
I think teaching. I would say I'm not a good teacher, but I'm a good coach, I would say.
You are
So
a good host.
coach, yeah,
Coach.
coach or
Yeah.
advisor. So better we be advisors and coaches than teachers. So teaching is, in my opinion, in my frank opinion, teaching is you are, giving knowledge to somebody, but rather being an advisor or a coach, you are giving a lot of other inputs as well, not only the subject knowledge but also how to behave, how to work in a team, how to go talk to the public in a field visit, and there are many more, how to present um, your scientific findings, how to ask a question from somebody. So all these things are being given as advices. So I prefer me being a supervisor or an advisor mainly, and being a coach than being a teacher. So that is my view, my opinion regarding teaching or regarding being an academician.
So fair enough. So how many PhD you have already guided or master?
Not many. I have been in my personal view. I am not supervising any PhD student in Sri Lanka. I believe PhD student should go out from Sri Lanka, get the international exposure. uh, Somebody might think that is not good thinking, but still I believe we can learn quite a lot of things when we go out of the out from our box that we are staying, or from the where that we are in.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't supervise PhD students in Sri Lanka, but I have supervised, co-supervised PhD students in abroad, like 2, 3 PhDs. Masters I do supervise here, about I think more than 10 MPhils, Master of Philosophy. That means 2 years full-time research students, and MSc students, Master of Science students, about 15 maybe.
Um, Actually, I am happy that you are not using diplomatic, but you are talking your brain and you are talking like an academician. At the end, I can tell you that this is also a patriotic thing. People may not get it, but if you would have not been a patriot, if not a mother loving, you would have not returned. You could have. There are many Sri Lankan who is serving the job as a faculty abroad, and I think we both had that opportunity to be abroad. So when we come back and then we say that no, this thing should be like this and this thing should be like this, people should value it. People should understand that, okay, we have made a decision. We have already shown our heart that we are working for our country. We want our country to progress. But if for that, if we have to perform a operation, if we have to perform a diagnostic thing, we have to do it. So I have seen you taking some lead on Facebook about your school. Now I know that that is your school, and also several matters. I would say that don't get intimidated by anything else and keep doing it. But having said that, can you tell me your experience on speaking your mind? What kind of thing you faced?
Yeah, it's actually two ways. You will have to face a lot of difficulties. You will have to do a lot of struggling when you start speaking your mind, especially when you start talking the truth, which is especially these countries we are having, politicized quite a lot, and we don't get a lot of support as researchers. The politicians are just talking, but as an example, Sri Lanka is giving only 0.1% of the GDP for research, so it's very less amount. So you can't do quite a lot, you can't do significant research in this budget. But still there are a lot of scientists who tried to do quite a lot, and who developed quite a lot of findings, novel findings, which the politics can drive towards the betterment of the country, but it doesn't happen. It is one part. And even in the system that we are staying, we are working, there can be a lot of struggling, there can be a lot of issues coming up, lot of personal problems, and many different kinds of problems. Even being a lady, being a woman scientist, that is also challenging. So these are various different aspects of matters that we are facing as scientists in developing countries. I'm sure you are also facing these kind of issues. So speaking your mind, yeah, you are talking whatever you are, getting information and from your scientific experience, this is right and this is wrong, and you are showing from your data, from your research, that this is not quite right, this is the way that it should happen, but no one listens. Then you get frustrated. Yes, it happens. But I think as a researcher, for me, the satisfaction is the most important thing. So my way is, my life is based on satisfaction. So when I do a research, if I publish a paper, if I graduate a student, uh, at least that satisfaction I have, even though I don't do quite, I don't give lot of national, I don't do a lot of national development research work maybe, but in my opinion, the small research that we do has a lot of, a huge significant national development initiative. But scientists, researchers need the backing from the community, from the politicians. Political will should come into that place for us to perform more and more. So from the childhood times, people say that I am speaking the mind, talking regarding the truth. That has made me a lot of difficulties. I had to struggle quite a lot to to face these difficulties coming up from the surrounding when I talk the truth. But that is my satisfaction. If I tell the truth, that is my satisfaction. So I never give up. I keep on standing on the truth. Wherever I go, whatever I do, I talk the truth. That is my satisfaction. Not only being as a researcher, but also being as a human being.
But isn't it like in Hindi we say "Abel mujhe maar"? I mean, inviting the troubles. I mean, because of course we cannot doubt your gray matter because you are PhD and all that stuff. So, is it wise to invite the trouble just for satisfaction?
Very good question and very hard to answer. Yeah, lot of people say that it is not good to invite the troubles. But what I do is I'm not inviting the troubles, but I tell the truth. I tell the science with scientific evidences. And even if it is not scientific research related, I tell the truth based on the facts. So being a researcher, we understand how to look into a problem, how to look into a situation. So that is how we look into the situation and understand things. Okay, this is where it is heading, this is how it is flowing. So at that moment, I start talking. So that may be, bringing me a lot of troubles, but still somebody should do it. Otherwise, things will not flow in the right path. I may not
Yeah.
be able to change everything, but I would try to at least from my behavior or my speaking, my communications, at least few people would understand the reality is this.
Yeah, actually, there is a just now it came to my mind, or it struck to my mind that truth it has tr and trouble has tr. They starts with the same thing. So if you say the truth, already trouble get the two word and two primer to become a trouble. Uh,
Exactly.
but yeah, this is just now it strike my mind. But I think a society, a good society, a viable society, a true society, always been in such that an academician has to be fearless, and a journalist has to be fearless, a judiciary has to be fearless. At least these three components has to be fearless to have a better government in any country or in any society, better governance actually.
Agreed to the 100%, 100% agreed. Yes, very true. We should not, have fear around us. If we are doing the correct thing, we should not have any fear about anybody or any thing. So the correct thing, it might be subjective, but you should think about from the bottom of the heart, from the underneath, whether you are doing the right thing or wrong thing. So if you think from the bottom of the heart, definitely you would understand whether it is right or wrong. So if the academics are fearless, if the judiciary is fearless, and if there is the political will, definitely we can drive all these developing countries to developed status easily. But even if we take apart, take separate the politicians, but if the academics, the public and at least the public servants and the judiciary are strong enough to talk the truth, do the correct thing, say no to the incorrect things, then there is no way, stopping us being developed.
Yeah. So that brings us the end of the part A. I never knew that we will talk on this speaking of the mind at length. So part B, we will start where we will try to give lessons of yours on several topics. But for that, let's take a break. Okay. So coming to the part B, where we will talk about the philosophy and your lessons or suggestions to the audience. Actually, I cannot start the way I put the question and send to you. I just want to know the secret of being highly cited researcher. And yeah, so what do you say that, how do you write a paper? How do you communicate? How do you choose a journal? How do you get it nailed?
Yeah. The very first thing is being in touch with the literature. So if you are always updated, then you know what is happening in the field of science that you are working on. But then you might not be able to do all these quite advanced things that the scientific community is doing. But with the existing facilities that you have, with the existing support you have, and the most important thing is the collaborations that you have, you will be able to do quite a lot of good things. So that is my secret. I am using the existing facilities, existing the human resource that I have, plus the collaborations to the most. So the secret is me being hardworking and the determination. So when I plan a research, I try to plan for how many papers that I will be able to get from this particular objectives and how to. So planning is another thing, determination and planning. So this planning will, I'm not, I'm not, I'm not planning a long way, but I do plan for a week. I do plan for the day. And specifically, if I am to start a research, I plan the whole research at that moment. So it might be changing in the middle of the way, but still I have the objectives in my mind. So I am driving to achieve those objectives. Um, so by reading the literature, I think I'm getting the essence of how to drive this particular research for a paper. So that is how I do. Um, so always I try to end up, because we are spending the government money, that means the public money for our research. So people criticize this quite a lot, especially the audits, especially the finance people. They are criticizing, you are spending this much of money and doing this research. What is your output? So my answer is, your output is the postgraduate that you are, generating, and the publications. So publication, then they ask publication, what is it for? Why? That doesn't do anything for the national development, but it does. When you do a research, when you graduate a student, that means you generate knowledge, right? So that knowledge will be helpful for the development of the country. At the same time, you are publishing quite a good literature, quite a good knowledge in the international journals. That means you are taking your country to the international standard. So you are giving a visibility to your country, to your research institute, to your place that you are working as a researcher, to the whole world. I think that is my motivation and being a researcher.
Yeah, I mean, I can understand that many times if you will create a music, you have to be a human to appreciate that, right? Or of course, even animals can understand. So outcome, this kind of a scholarly outcome, you have rightly said, not only help the develop the science in the country but in the world. And of course, your citations are the proof of that how significantly it has contributed. Many times people say writing or publishing in a SCI journal or quarterly one journal is tough. But after publishing, how many people read it, how many people cite it is really criteria. So a country should be proud on you, and they are. I have seen that your recognition and awards. So they are, but of course they can ask. But another question is that how do you prepare a student or convert them into a writer, a paper? I have seen that quite a student of yours has become a good publishing, or they are good at writing. How do you do that?
Yeah, that is the training that I give to a student that I recruit in the very beginning. I give them, a few papers and ask them to summarize those papers by their own words. So I train them to write and write, because you will do a lot of research, you will spend a lot of money on research, and you will put a lot of effort. You will work in the lab day and night and produce a lot of data. But if you are a weak person in writing, that outcome, what we are expecting from the research, will not come, will not happen, right? So my main target is, training the students that I have to be a good scientific writers. So that is what I'm doing from the very beginning, from the day one that I recruit them. I give them writing tasks, and then I teach them, how to do the scientific writing. What are the aspects? What are the ethics? How do we, improve our scientific writing? Because not like in India, Sri Lanka doesn't, the school education is in national language. So we are not very good in English in our school period. So even they are not very good in language, especially in English, when they do their bachelors. So they struggle. So when they come to research, they struggle how to write. We don't know that much of English. So how do we write? So I tell them, you just focus on papers. You just see, read, understand papers. Track the style, get the sense of that paper, how they have structured the sentences and so on. So these are the guidance coaching that I do to students. So scientific writing is a training from the day one in my lab. And not only scientific writing, I push them, most of them, to do scientific communication to general public as well. That means science dissemination, science communication with the public. That is also very important. As researchers, we do quite a lot of research, but the public doesn't understand. Public don't know what we are doing. Public don't understand, what is happening. As an example, when the Express Pearl incident happened in Sri Lanka, the ship disaster, people were asking, people were struggling to understand, whether we should eat fish or not. So researchers, scientists, they should communicate their feelings, their understanding, their scientific knowledge to general public. So I do train students for scientific writing as well as scientific communication with the public.
Great. Now, I know that this is a trade skill, or of course, I mean, many good publisher or a good academician prepare good students. But how do you, what you would like to suggest to students about the selection of the journal? Which journal they should start with to avoid the rejection? How to say the bear multiple rejection, and so on and so forth.
Okay, yeah, it's hard because even now I am getting multiple rejections. So for students, yeah, they may have to go through these kind of experiences as well. But the most important thing is scientific writing is also an art. So we have to learn this art. So different journals or different publishers have different styles. If you consider American Chemical Society
Mhm.
or Society of Chemistry, or like Elsevier publications, so these three different publishing group,
Publisher.
different styles. So first, you need to learn these styles. How do they present their data? So that is the very first thing. So when you write your manuscript, you must understand what type of publisher that you would select. So based on the publisher, you select the style of writing. So in my case, we are more towards Elsevier, Springer, um, Willie into Science kind of publishers. Um, so we read a lot of papers, a lot of published literature from these publishers, and then we tackle the way of style, the way of presentation, the way of graphics, and so on.
So for you, impact factors are not so important. I mean,
So
or would you like to? There is a two-way. There is a two-way. One way is that, like you said, target the journal first, target the publisher first, learn their style, and pitch it accordingly. Second is that let's start from the up and then go down and go down and go down. So
yes.
which way? Which way?
I would be in the middle.
Mhm.
I will not start from the top though, but I will assess my manuscript based on the quality and based on the similar manuscripts that have been published in the journals. So based on those information, I would go for a particular journal first. So if it is unsuccessful, um, I would again go through the literature and see what are the potential journals, and I might go for a higher journal as well. I have examples, for those kind of experiences I have. Um, Once I wrote a manuscript and I submitted it to a middle level, I would say impact factor. At that moment, it was like impact factor 3. And right away, I got a rejection the next day, actually. It was not suitable. And then I thought, no, this has some worth. So I tried impact factor 6 journal. And then I got very positive remark from the editor saying, I actually asked him whether I can submit this particular review article in your journal. Then he said, yes, we are happy to consider your paper. You should do these things and then submit. Then actually it went well, and I got very positive comments from the reviewers, and it was published. So it depends actually. with the experience, you can gain quite a lot of knowledge regarding to select a journal. So you need a lot of experience. Trying is the best. Trying hard will end you up in a successful status. So for me, I would consider the quality of my manuscript based on the literature available already in different journals, and then I would select the journal to go with.
So let me take this opportunity to congratulate you to just have crossed 10,000 citations. Yeah, so this is one of the milestones that you have just recently received or achieved. Tell me your three best paper, or the three interesting, or the something, those papers who remains in your mind. If I have to pick, I have some those papers, so I hope there should be yours also.
Okay. The very first one, yes, that is,
Yeah, always.
yeah, the very first paper. I still remember how I did the paper, how I got the comments from my supervisor, and then how I got the comments from the reviewers, how I struggled. Because at those days, the internet technology was not that prominent. So it was a struggle to find literature. There was no, open access journals at those moments. So that very first journal article of mine was in Journal of Colloidal and Interface Science. That is one thing. And then the other is, I would say, the Environmental Science and Technology paper I have on serpentine soil. That paper was from the very first student of mine, master's student of mine. Now she's a PhD holder and working with me as a peer of my, as a colleague of me in the center, Dr. Anushka Upamari Rajapaksha. So that paper was again a big hit in my opinion. And the third one, I would say, um, the the paper that I published in Chemosphere.
2000 citations.
2000 citations regarding the biochar review. It was a big one. We put a lot of effort to write that paper when I was in spending time with Professor Oak's lab at Korea with Mahathir Bahamad, who was a PhD student, and Dr. Anushka Rajapaksa. She was also a PhD student at that moment. And the next one is the fourth one, if I were to select, the paper published in Carbon regarding biochar for arsenic remediation. Yes.
Yeah, I mean, many people cannot break this paper. The 2600 to be precise is the citation as per the Google Scholar today. So many career ends with that citations. So congratulations. Do you think that, can you guess that which paper is going to be more cited or less cited? I mean, have you ever thought that this paper will go like this?
Yeah. Actually, when I plan a research, nowadays I try to do a review paper from that particular research. I am trying to find out the best subject area or best research problem for the moment that which is possible for us to do in Sri Lanka. So from those kind of things, I actually predict, okay, this kind of journal article or this kind of a manuscript or review can be a big hit. So I am thinking on those lines when I try to start or initiate the research. Yes.
No, I mean, many of things I know, but from you while working with you, but still I want you to be spoken by you, is that, um, so tell me the ingredients. I know that you know that whether it is a microplastic is trending or biochar is trending or PFOS is trending. So that you know, and that how you think that, okay, now it's time to hit that button. So, and that also been reflected by you to have regular review, regular literature review. You already said. Other than that, is there any ingredients that makes a paper really those things? I mean, a likely. So, I mean, the trend, understanding the trend of the research is important because it changes in a couple of years.
Yeah, that is true. One ingredient I would have is my collaborators. So I try to reach my collaborators who is good in that particular subject, and share his or her knowledge, write a part of the review, or write a advise the student to improve the particular research, especially when it is initiating. I try to reach the collaborators and ask for some advice to clear the objectives, to make them prominent, so that the research will end up in giving good output. That is one thing I do. And also, I ask their support for some analyticals as well. So analytical data that I try to get from them. These two things, get the support from the peers, support from the collaborators. I think those are the main um, ingredients that I would have to have high impact journal articles that I am producing. Other than the research that we do.
Mm-hmm. So, I mean, you have, it is a gradual, do you want to say something more?
Yeah, it is. The best thing I get is from when I initiate the experiment, when I initiate the research, I go to my colleagues, my collaborators, and get their opinion, so that we can have a good teamwork and build it in the right direction, so that not going to the last moment. Without going into the last moment, I can get the data from them, and finish it in a successful manner. Yeah.
You have gradually reached to the point where my questions were reaching. So how to how do you approach to a new collaborator? How do you maintain a old collaborator? And how do you troubleshoot any conflict of interest?
Um, yeah. As I told earlier, I am in touch with the literature quite, thoroughly, and so I do read quite a lot.
So I mean,
And
every Sunday, or every day you just
every
search?
day, I would say every day, I'm going through literature, with regard to the research that I'm running right now. So I understand
So do
who.
you search it, or have you set some alert system?
No, I'm searching. Yeah. I actually get some alerts. That is also one thing, but not, the most frequent thing I do is searching. So when I get to know, okay, some person is okay, have published a recent research article or recent review, so I try to write to them, and see whether they are also agreeable to collaborate with us. So that is how I start. But I never let go the previous collaborators, because I have quite a strong hold with them. I quite oftenly collaborate with my previous collaborators as well. So that is the team that I'm building. The network that I have with previous collaborators are very strong, and I do trust them very well, very much, and they do too. So the ethics we keep very strongly. And also with the new collaborators, I'm trying to start the network going on. So sometimes the new collaborators come into the all collaborator list, and we make a network out of it, which makes the success of many of our work.
So, and how important is that? I think it's unnecessary now to ask that how important it is for research. But if you want to add something, you can add that how important is a research network and how necessary it is.
Yeah, research network is very important, especially for us who have very little amount of money for spending on research, and lack of research instruments, and so on. Also, we can get a lot of new knowledge from the collaborators, from the network that we are having. So these things are very important. And also, it's especially when you have a good network, you will have a lot of chances to go present in conferences, international conferences, very good conferences, so that you have a lot of updates in the same field. So that update is also very important. So for all these things, you have to manage time though. But networking is very important for research.
I would like to ask your suggestion that now you are director and professor, what we should keep in mind, or how to be a good administrator, number one. But before that also is that how to manage when the administrators, your administrators.
Tricky though. Yeah. I would say, being a researcher will produce a good administrator, because in my opinion, um, like, when you are a researcher, you have a plan. You have to plan the research. You should have understood what are the research problems, and you know how to tackle it. What are the tools, how to manage these tools, how to manage the budget, and all these things. So research management is a very good thing that you will generate, you will experience when you do research. You need to manage the budget you have, you need to manage the students, you need to manage the time, and you have to drive the research to the particular outcomes or particular outputs. So these things are producing a good administrator, in my opinion. So in administrating, you have to manage the staff, you have to manage the budget, you have to manage the time. So all these things are being experienced by a researcher. So if you are a good researcher, you will definitely be a good administrator, in my opinion, so that you understand how to manage your administrators, because you are managing your peers, you are managing your collaborators, you are managing your granting bodies. So all these things you do when you do research management. So definitely you will be a good administrator if you do manage research well.
And how to tackle the administrators, how to keep them happy.
Yeah, you know the first thing you have to realize is you can't make everybody happy. Anyway, someone will be upset when you make some other person happy. Yes, that is the reality. But to make an administrator happy, you have to have some KPIs, So if you are making the KPIs of that administrator, if you can
KPIs
work
means?
key performance indicators of those administrators, then
Mhm,
you will be successful.
mhm.
So that the administrator that you have, I have, they are expecting me, these key performance indicators from me. So if I can meet those key performance indicators, if I can manage the time, manage the situations, have less conflicts, then you will be having a good time. Yes.
Mm.
I'm not that
But
good in, conflict, but I try to have lesser and lesser conflicts these days. Maybe because of the age, maybe, but when I was young, it was always in conflicts.
and the point is this KPI for each administrator can keep varying, and you know that it's all about, as a researcher, as an experienced person, how do we think is the important to do, and what they think you to be doing. This may not be matching, and at that time you may not avoid conflicts. And so I think that, so do you feel that conflicts are part of life, and um, doing your, yeah, like you said, that you were research oriented. So anyway, if anybody will give you the deanship or vice chancellorship, maybe you will be not happy.
Um, yes,
Or you want to become vice chancellor now.
not at all. Um, the thing is, yeah, you are true, you are correct. Um, when the administrator's role and the researcher's role might be different. The KPIs the administrator is thinking of achieving, it will not be the same as the researchers. Those moments, I think, we need open discussions. Without having open discussions, we will not be able to have, we will end up in conflicts, definitely. So open discussions will take, you a smooth way, much smoother way, uh,
Hmm,
not to have conflicts, but to aware the administrator that, his or her KPIs are a bit different from ours, and then this discussion might ending up in a promising way, in a middle path, so that both of the sectors will be happy. So that will be one conflict resolution that I would have, open discussions. Mm, Administrative role that I would be able thinking of is, yeah, better, having a deanship, having a director position, having vice chancellor position, yeah, better. But in my opinion, I would rather be in research management administration levels, than being in, these top positions like dean and vice chancellor.
fair, very fair. I moving to the next question is that what kind of advice would you like to give to students that they should focus on that can give them a competitive edge in research area?
Oh, yeah. Mm, the most important thing I would say is, managing their time and having uh, um, train themselves uh, to do a lot of problem solving and critical thinking. Um, so in terms of a student, I expect the student to work hard. Definitely, any of the supervisors would expect. Um, but the most important thing that they should think of is the managing their time. So the research that they are spending their time will not come back again. So they have to perform to the most. That is my advice, that if I am giving it to any student, try to get the maximum benefit out of your time that you are spending on your research. So that involves the managing your time, learning scientific writing, learning how to carry out statistical or other modeling techniques. Open up your mindset to do some teamwork. Being with peers means that you are doing some teamwork, thinking of some collaborative efforts. So this all of these will involve in there. So the 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 advice that I will give is, take the maximum benefit out of it, whatever you do. It doesn't matter whether you do research or whether you do something else. So take the maximum benefit out of it, so that you will end up in a good place.
Fine. This ends our part B. And now part 3 is about you again, but not as a researcher, but as a human being. And because, see, that is the gradual change in my question, because when I talked, you reached to the research network. When I talked to the research network, we reached to the other issues. So now you said the time. And so the part C, being human, starts with the time. How do you balance your personal or family life and professional ambitions?
Um, yeah, I would. I am quite oftenly working with my students actually. So the balancing is very important, especially for a woman. So when we had to do a lot of things at home, cooking, and taking care of kids, taking care of husband, and then when you come to the office, you have to take care of your students. So this balance is very important. To have this balance, you need to manage your time. So that is very important. So I am waking up early, do the work at home. Sometimes I do cooking and looking after my kid and all these things. That is a must for women. So time is the most important factor that you should govern, you should manage when you balance your work and family life. If you can balance the time, then there will not be any issue. You will be definitely
No,
a
no, no. So
success.
that is not the MB. I mean, the here in this conversation, actually, everybody knows. Everybody knows. Please be calm. But how to be calm? Everybody knows.
Okay.
Manage your time, but how to manage your time? So give us some tricks that
Okay.
you
So
follow.
yeah. So in my opinion, the respect is the most important thing. So I respect my husband pretty much, and also I get the same thing back from him, so that we don't go into conflicts. So when I have issues at work or issues at my research lab, if I had to finish something very quickly and go for a paper or something, then I had to spend on time. So he respects that, and then I do respect him for his time and his behavior, his um, all these things. So that is the most important thing, I would say. Balancing my life. So uh, if I respect somebody, definitely I will get the respect from those persons back to me. So that is, I would say, that is the secret of me being having a balanced life, work and family both.
Okay. Can you, actually, you are not giving up your secret, so that is why I am going to ask, what is your daily, I mean, the routine? I mean, do you do some pranayam or do you, roughly, not very minutely? Yeah.
Yeah, I'm a early waking up person. So I do wake up early and
Early
do
means 5 a.m., 6 a.m.?
4:30.
No way. So
Um,
now it is your going to be your sleeping time? Sleeping is 4:10?
yeah, sleeping at around 10 o'clock,
Yeah.
or 10:30, I would say. So it
But here
depends.
I would like to little bit stop is that researchers tend to be like working late night, of course, when we are a student. But I also never realized that when did I change to be a early riser rather than working late. Does that also happen to you, with you?
Not really. I was, in my childhood times, my father had this, culture at home, waking up early. We must wake up early, so that is, still coming up.
So
Still
your
in.
father also used to get you up by 4:30.
Yes, yes, exactly. And during those days, I used to run at 5 o'clock in the morning,
Wow.
because I was an athlete and a basketball player. So I did, quite a little amount of, studies from 4 o'clock to 5 o'clock, and then run, then going to school. So that was the routine. Now I don't run though, but I wake up early in the morning, and then I do start. If I had to cook, I will cook. Then I do start my, looking at my emails, going through all these things. Replying emails right away is my one of my habits. And then coming to the office, going home a little early, maybe. Sometimes I work late, and then spent some time with the family. Um, then I sleep. So all the work that I do is early in the morning and during the working hours. But that same schedule happens most of the weekends as well, though. But some of the weekends we take off. We family goes on safari. My husband loves going on safaris, so we take time off for those things. Sometimes we go safari with the lab members, with the students in my lab too. So the family plus the work family, both are interconnected. Sometimes we go on trips like that too. So
It's very.
balancing is easy. Yeah.
Mm, mm, mm. Okay, so now the balancing is done. And uh, I thought that waking up at 5:30 is early rising. So how do you handle pressure? Do you become angry? How do you do anger management?
I do become angry.
Mm.
I was becoming angry very often when I was in 30s.
Mhm.
But later on, I started realizing it is not that good, and it doesn't help me. So I started relaxing much more. So now I'm not getting that much of anger feelings that that is not much common now. I take a lot of things easy now, because I realize that you can't change things, or you can't change people. Um, when I was young, I thought, okay, you can change things, you can be angry, you can shout, and then you can change things. Even it is truth, the reality that you are talking about, that won't help much. because people get upset, they get sad, and then there will be a lot of conflicts. Now I realize you can talk straightforward without getting angry. You can talk openly, and then you can resolve a lot of conflicts. If you still feel that you can't change by talking straightforward or talking openly, then I keep quiet actually. Because there are things that you realize that you can't change. Systems like our politics in the country, you can't change. Whatever you do, you put a lot of efforts to change, but that is a different network, so you can't break that network. So there's no point you being stressed out, you being stressful and being angry. That is not good for your health, but you have to try some other way to resolve that issue. So I start talking now, in a leisure manner, in an open manner, so that I think it makes me much more better feeling. It gives me much more better feeling because I won't get stressful by being angry.
So here there is a two thing. Of course, I know that anger doesn't help. So one is that stopping it, being angry, or stopping it at the source. But it is so voluntary, involuntary process that it happens. And it triggers some anger in you. And of course, you said that a management trick that you do is that you keep quiet when you are angry. But how to reduce the more happening of this kind of feeling? What to anger about it? And so have you developed some kind of understanding over the years?
Yeah, if the same thing happens over and over, I start, giving it up. So that is what I developed last few years of, especially me working at the Institute of Fundamental Studies, even at the University of Sri Jayawardenepura. I'm not, trying to have conflicts much. If something is happening over and over again and again, if that is giving you trouble, then I let it go. That is the best thing. Otherwise, you will be stressed up quite a lot, which is not good for your health, and also which is not good for your research management.
Mm-mm.
Then you will be ending up solving problems with people, solving problems with other things, which will have less and less time for you to work on your papers, work on your research. So why do we do that? We should have let it go. If somebody needs to take something from you, just let him take. You develop some other thing, because
But
letting it.
let's suppose that I know that let's suppose that they are trying to take your job. Then what you will do? It's not about a small thing that they are taking it away or some positions or some responsibility. So you say, okay, I don't care. I will develop something else. But what about if they are threatening you with the max?
Yeah, then you have to be tricky and careful. First, you need to try hard to keep it with you.
Mm.
If I give an example, when I was at National Institute of Fundamental Studies, I had quite a hard time that since my mother was very sick, I wanted to come and help her. I wanted to be with her. And then, tackling my work at the institute because I could not have leave, it was hard. Then I asked for no pay leave. It was not successful. But I tried hard to stay there, tried, cope up with the work, cope up with the people, start working, okay manner with them. But still, I was having frustrations, yes. But I didn't give up. You should not give up. That is my, let's say motto. We should not give up. We should try hard to get going, keep going. But at a point, you will realize it won't happen. Then you will let it go. So, you should try hard. I am trying hard, but the same
How
time,
about how about
yeah,
fighting back?
yeah, you should fight back, because it's your achievement, it's your thing, it's your maybe if say if it is something related to job, you are working hard, you are paying a lot of effort, so that you need to fight hard. Fight back, yes, it is important still. So fighting back is important, and if it is also again and again running the same pace, same way, then you will come to a point letting it go. But you have to first try hard, fight hard, and then you can let it go if it is not working.
I mean, this is. Uh, I can see that when you were say fight back, that the kind of determination and the kind of energy that uh, emits from your personality is really commendable. I really, it's I think even virtual meetings we have very little. We started from 2019, and I am thankful that before this pandemic I met you, and then we started our collaboration. Otherwise, we both have missed a lot of things. Um, so yeah, your suggestions are really very nice, and I think a cool head is always going to help, but fighting is also important for. I mean, and we talked about that. It's I when I thought today's about today's conversation, I thought mostly I am going to talk about research papers or citations and this thing, but it didn't happen. It happened like we talked about ethics, we talk about righteousness, we talk about the struggle, and that's how the beautifully it goes. Now, only a few questions remaining. Um, what excites you most about your work? What makes you wake up every day with that 4:30? Didn't you feel like, okay, today is Saturday, I can have it until 6? Now I am a highly cited researcher. I can have it 5:30. I can make it until.
Yeah, that's true. Sometimes I feel like, what is the worth of these things? But still, you are working for your satisfaction. So my satisfaction is seeing my students going to the same place that I was in, or going, winning a PhD scholarship, or finishing a PhD in a super way, and coming back to their own country, or being somewhere else being a researcher. So that is my satisfaction, and so I work for the satisfaction, that satisfaction. So I wake up in the morning to help my students, to support my students, and to support my institute, support my country, to have an improved visibility. So I try to give my students a good visibility that I have. So that is what I am doing. That makes me motivated in the morning to start working. So I like to have an email from my one of my students at least in the morning, so that I can start working on his or her paper, or an abstract, or some problem that they have, even solving their problems. So all these things will make me motivated, even if it is like nationally related problem that I'm as requested to work on. So that is again my motivation. So in the morning I wake up with these motivations, so that I can start a fresh day.
Good. Now, if we talk about your strength, what are three major strengths of your personality?
My strengths, few of them are there. I would say um, hard working is one of the strengths that I have. I never give up. So I tried all the possible ways to solve whatever the problem that comes to me, even if it is research, even if it is administrative, family related. I tried hard. I try hard. And then standing for the truth is again one of the strongest points that I have in my life. So I am being very satisfied, and I do help support a lot of people, a lot of public people who are spending difficult times. So that is again one of my strengths, I would say I have. Apart from those things, I try to develop new knowledge for myself, so that I can disseminate it to my students or to the world. So that is another strength. So I am never stopping reading literature, looking at the.
Reinventing yourself.
Yes, exactly. Reinventing
Actually,
myself.
So how about how do you manage gossip? If or you think that okay, people are so that is so how do you do? Does that bother you anyway?
Not really. Yeah, I get this question from my colleagues most of the time, because when they come up with problems and so on, they call me actually and ask me support, ask me advice and so on, because they always have the fear of what would the other person think about me, what would they talk about me. No, I don't have that at all in my mindset. And I don't really care whatever the other people think about me, whatever they talk about me, because I think that can't influence you. Only thing that influence you is what you do. So, in my opinion, um, another third party can never harm you. You are the person
Will
paving
harm you.
pathway to have troubles. So if I am having some troubles from somebody or some place or whatever, it may be because something that I have done. So that is the feeling that I have. So always I never bother about the other people if it is creating a problem to me. But if I am I need to give some help to some other person, definitely I would do. But discussions, gossips, thinking, thoughts about myself, thoughts about the other discussions and all, I never bother about. So that is, I think that is also a strength that I have, making this way, this the troublesome pathway that I had with a successful up to this level. Coming up to
Mhm.
this level is one thing is that I am not interested in what others talk about me or what others discuss, think about me.
How about how many hours do you work,
I
more or
do
less?
work about um, 12, 15 hours.
No, no. 15 hours you work. Oh my, that includes cooking also?
Yeah. Everything. Yes, cooking, managing with my family, everything. If you literally say like my scholarly work, I would say at least 8 hours.
Something you are not good at. I don't know if you have answered this.
Oh, something I am not good at. Okay. Managing finances. Yeah, I'm never good at. I don't know how much I'm spending on, and how much is in my pocket, my purse. Managing finance is I'm not good at all.
Oh, actually, this is, I should not ask, but I think because from female, we should not ask age, but that you have told in the very beginning. But I mean, you can even now, because you are so highly cited person, now mom is not anymore there, right?
Yeah.
Your mom is no more, right?
No more.
Yeah. So now, why don't you think of taking a job somewhere? Because your salary must be not even 1/3 of the global salary for a faculty.
Yeah, definitely. I wanted to, but I sacrificed that thing for my husband. He doesn't like. I
Leaving
think
Sri Lanka.
he doesn't like going abroad to for good. So we are spending time here. So we both are trying to have less stress as much as possible and the satisfaction as much as possible with this existing situation in the country,
Resources,
in our
salary.
life, in our resources. Yes.
Very fair. But I just ask because this might be, I am just talking to you as from the perspective of audience.
Yes.
So your most favorite, now this is a rapid fire. You have to say quickly, what is your most favorite food?
Food snacks, I would say.
I mean, veg, non-veg, fish, or Chinese. Okay, yeah, this one.
Yeah, non-veg, yes, definitely.
Fish.
Fish, yes.
What about which cuisine you love most?
Uh, King coconut is the best ever drink, I would say I have. I
Hmm.
would like to.
So that is drink. But I was thinking that cuisine, whether you like Chinese food, Indian food,
Okay,
of course,
cuisine,
Indian and
yeah.
this one.
Yeah, Chinese I would prefer. South Indian I would prefer.
The South Indian and Sri Lankan foods are different. Yes,
Yeah,
different.
very different. Yes, we are cooking with a lot of coconut milk and coconut
Mm-hmm.
oil.
Mm-hmm.
South Indian, it is like sesame oil and not much of coconut milk though.
Mm-hmm. What about your favorite possession?
What was it?
Favorite possession, maybe car or something that some object that you admire most.
Yeah, vehicles.
Vehicles, your car. Your favorite book?
The Breadwinner. It's a book that I translated into Sinhalese language as well. It
Oh
was
my
written
God.
by Nora Tomey. This is regarding a girl in Afghanistan Taliban era. So that I read that book and it was very interesting. So I translated it to our mother tongue.
How many copies being sold? Your translated one.
I think more than 2,000 copies.
Uh, oh my God. From where you get this much time? Which year you translated?
It was just after my bachelor's.
Yeah, that time it was. I never thought. Just today, I got this idea that I can translate if I cannot write an original one.
Because
So,
writing is an art. So whenever you have that art, it doesn't
mhm,
matter whether it is scientific writing or other type of writing. So you can do it.
yeah. Your favorite movie?
Um, the Devdas,
Oh, and your favorite actor?
of course, Shahrukh,
Oh, a favorite actress?
Madhuri, Dixit.
Uh, Dixit. Your favorite quote?
No, I don't have something like that. Maybe I have my own favorite quote.
Yeah, yeah. Tell me.
um, Satisfaction is the way forward in your life.
What is your mantra of life?
Um,
I mean, one thing that you live for.
Live for happiness, satisfaction.
Mhm. How often do you check Google Scholar?
Oh, recently it was like every week because I was reaching to 10,000. But other times, like monthly.
Monthly.
Yeah,
Uh,
or if I have to update my CV for something, then I would look at.
no, I can tell you, it updates on Saturday, then it updates on,
Saturday.
yeah, Saturday it updates. Three times it
Okay.
updates in a week. And
Okay.
so I can tell you that Saturday Indian time 10:11 it updates. And then
Okay.
then Monday evening it updates, and then again Thursday it updates.
All right. Okay.
Actually, some that some of my colleague is really obsessed, so I also become.
Okay. That's good.
Yeah.
Good to know.
But I don't know. It's funny. I mean, I don't check my purse or bank balance so often. But actually, there is no such surprise in my bank and my purse, because whatever I put, I put. But citation is surprise. Anybody
Yeah.
can cite and something. So it is also one of the motivation. What trip you adore? What is the best time in your life so far? Not
Uh,
scholarly. You already mentioned, but the best time you
yeah,
feel.
I don't have that kind of a time. I would realize that I would say that I would think like, okay, this is the best time of my life.
Mm,
Um, um, so for all the times are best times of my life.
mm,
I try to enjoy as much as possible. I try to travel as much as possible. If there is a time that I can take time off, I would definitely take it for traveling. So traveling, whenever I did travel, especially I had that kind of periods, two periods. One was after my PhD, I traveled around Europe. That was one of the best times I had.
mm.
And the second one was, during my PhD, right after I finished my internship at Colorado School of Mines, I took a month off, to travel around US because the
Uh,
geography of US is amazing.
so
So
amazing. Yeah.
yeah, so that is
How
the time.
is there any bucket list for future?
Not really.
Because of course I would like to interview you again after 10 years or so, and
I would
in
be
that
happy.
time I can. So is there any something that you want to accomplish?
Yeah,
Or,
yeah, being a good administrator, I would accomplish this. That is my, I would say, that's one of my targets.
so you are already up to please apply for some vice chancellor.
Yes, I will try.
If you were, this is the last question of our conversation. If you were not an academician, what you would have been?
Yes, I love that question. I would definitely be a basketball coach.
Wow, so clear. Oh my God.
I really
Okay.
wanted to become a basketball coach, but my father didn't like it, and my father wanted me to be, go into the university, enter into the university. So I fulfilled his dreams. So if I not being an academician, definitely I would be a coach, basketball coach for probably, yes.
So anyway, you are coaching now higher minds and in higher education. And if you not, you would have been coaching the game. But at the end of the day, you must be coaching something or other. With this, thank you very much for an interesting talk without getting tiredness. And you talked with emotion, feeling. And when you talked about your father or mother, father expired or the mother's thing, I could see those feeling on your face when you talked with the determination that also being expressed. And I can tell you that I knew you much more today in last 2.5 hours. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Manish. It's a great pleasure me being talking. I have never had these kind of interviews or discussions in my life. So this is something amazing and novel for my life. So thank you very much for bringing it to me. Thanks a
Thank you
lot.
so much.